918 text, when the new 4 teams join the Big 12, the conference championship game should go back to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Remember one year when Texas won the inaugural Big 12 championship when they beat Nebraska, James Brown and company. Was that in Kansas City or was it St. Louis? But it was an amazing
I think it was in
win.
St. Louis. It was inside, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was in a dome atmosphere. Kansas City's, of course. I remember Kansas City for some reason, Craig. That's when K-State and Oklahoma played one time. It was cold as hell, kind of a bitter day. Of course, it would be in December up there. And then it's been at Arlington. I don't know. You know, it depends if you want controlled environments or not. Some places do. The SEC is in Atlanta. The Big Ten is in Indianapolis. Is that where they play theirs? And then, of course, the Big 12 has been at AT&T in Arlington for quite some time.
Inaugural championship game was in St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah. I thought it was inside the dome.
By the way, that was Texas ruining not only Nebraska's day, but Florida State's, because Florida State had beaten Florida and then had to play them again, and they were lucky to beat them the first time. And it was a bloodbath in that Sugar Bowl.
So that's good. Thanks for the 918. The 304
Yeah, I
is...
hadn't even thought about the championship game and that part of it. Obviously, they have one with 10, so they'll have one with 12 or 14 or whatever the number ends up being, and when it ends up being that or whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, there should be some good sites, and now you've got some more geography. You got a little more land to play with and a little more – a few more markets to maybe go and explore. So, yeah, I mean, despite Missouri's exit, has been a stronghold for the Big 12. I mean, it really has. They still go up there for basketball all the time, despite the fact that Missouri is no longer in the conference. So that wouldn't shock me to see a championship game up there necessarily.
It would, only for the fact that Jerry Jones wanted his place. And
there's other options, yes.
Yeah, there's
you
other
wonder if Jerry wants everything. And what he wants, he usually gets. And
he
that's
wanted
a compliment,
Stanford, K-State.
Yeah.
I
and so I would think that he still wants that, even with Oklahoma and Texas and their power and all that stuff leaving. It's still something that's going to be.
If the WAC came to him and said, "Can we hold it there?" He'd be like,
yeah,
sure.
Of course, yeah. I mean, So I think that's definitely something that could be on the table. No idea where they are. Like they have so much going on. I have no idea what the timeline is of when we can expect to start hearing more details. But it is fun to play around with and imagine the possibilities. And yeah, they've got a little bit more room geography-wise to play with, and a few more teams to make this, hunt to the championship game a little bit more interesting. And I'm with Max Olson. I think that you eliminate, two of the most obvious teams in Texas and Oklahoma as far as your blue bloods go, and that hurts you. But it also will be refreshing to not have just Oklahoma as the pick every single year in the preseason for the Big 12, and to see Texas at 2 or 3 every single year in the Big. You know what I mean? It's that they do bring the eyeballs, but it'll be refreshing to see that these teams will now just bring the eyeballs themselves and not because of a couple of others, just by default.
How long will it be? And I don't know what the contract is with the SEC in Atlanta. You know the boys in Austin want that game in Arlington. And Oklahoma would love that game in Arlington. Now they got to get there, but you wonder how quickly they could try to flip that over. Those are the kind of little, kind of subtle things that change. The offices move. They're not Birmingham as you would think, but I'm just telling you, those are the little tiny things, little turf wars, right? With things like that. I had a fan from West Virginia said he's thrilled that the Cincinnati rivalry gets renewed again.
Yeah, that's big for West Virginia, just to have that proximity, that history there. That should be, when you look at the new Big 12, what are the rivalries? I mean, you're going to have the ones that carry over. Baylor, TCU obviously is one of those, and there's several, but obviously you lose some. Most including your biggest one in OU versus UT. But yeah, you do get to reignite a Cincinnati versus West Virginia. Maybe, some others are created as a result of this. And matter of fact, I'm sure there will be. UCF TCU could become some big rivalry for all we know. So, at least having some of that history mixed with some new, I think is great. And I think that's part of just evolving as a conference and take advantage of that. And the more creative, the better. But, I like Cincinnati for a lot of reasons, and that's one of them. One of the
texts we just got, and I was going to read this one as well from the 901. Any news about Memphis and the Big 12? We mentioned this yesterday. I was reporting this yesterday. We had this on Friday, that when we mentioned UCF, Houston, Brigham Young, and Cincinnati, that Memphis is right outside that crystal ball. I mean, they are. I don't know how far outside of it, but they are in that next conversation. We mentioned Boise State, and there's a couple of other schools that are a part of at least like, you ever play the game Asteroids?
Yes.
There's always something else coming. There's other 3 or 4 other teams that are a part of that mix. And you may scoff at them or you may say, no way, but Tulane and SMU and USF, those are still kind of hanging around. Some of them no, but some of them have been. And I do think that that Memphis would be probably the next level, next chapter, if they are going to go any deeper than what they have right now. So that's what we have on that. And that's one of the area code 225 asked me that question as well.
I know you can't say like everything, but would it be fair to say, to be somewhat revealing, that maybe the selection of these first 4 teams was going to be far easier than the selection of the next couple to 4 teams?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think there wasn't. I do think there was some grinding. I think there was still some that were like,
We've got to be convinced of Houston and, that. But I
think the next round, if they do add, whether it's 2 or 4, there'll be a lot of gnashing of the teeth about who is next. I do think Memphis and Boise State, in no particular order, because, again, there's 2, I think those 2 probably have at least the key to the door. No, they know where the door is. I think the door's cracked. But after that, I mean, if they were to go any deeper, I think it would start to be very difficult to make that next choice. Yes, I do. I
think that's just where more of the politics would actually come into play versus how much they might have come into play the first round. Because I think the first round, you knew you had to do something. Like, you had to do something. But now you kind of have the luxury of being able to say, you know what, we did that. We secured ourselves. We're good now on paper. Now we're going to strengthen just for the sake of strengthening and to prevent any future losses from having to go through this all over again. We'll still have enough teams to just be okay. But, I think that, the first reason for expansion was out of necessity. The second reason for expansion is forward thinking. But in that forward thinking, it's a lot more probably political in terms of who is that best fit. Because there's not enough. I mean, you would think Memphis and Boise State would be the obvious, but not necessarily for everybody involved.
All right. Jeff Grimm goes, there's no way the SEC leaves Atlanta. Jeff, I'm sure you're right, but I'm telling you, again, I'll say this again. There are going to be subtle, behind-the-scene turf wars.
Poke. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah. It happened. And I'm not saying where they ended up wasn't better, because it most likely was. But the little turf wars from Kansas City and St. Louis to Arlington. Remember, the Big 12 championship used to rotate. San Antonio, Houston, whatever else. And then eventually it was Arlington. Now, again, you can't complain about playing inside AT&T Stadium.
Best stadium in America.
And in that conference, even if you're Iowa State, Kansas, whoever else, or whoever, I mean, it just made sense. And it's the best stadium in America, although L.A.
Well, the new Vegas one's flashy and stuff, but I mean, Jerry's
Pac-12 might be going to Vegas for theirs at some point, right?
I think they might be. I'm sure they are. I mean, that would be stupid of them to not go to Vegas for Allegiant Stadium. That'd be just dumb. But we're not saying it's going to happen. But I mean, if you think that Oklahoma and Texas are going to come in and just sit on their hands and not Arlington, I mean, then I don't know what to tell you. I'm just going based off the last 20 years. But sure.
Subtle turf wars behind the scenes.
Oh, you guys don't have 2-foot margaritas at the stadium?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, our fans love it.
Wouldn't it be great? I mean, you've got these new teams coming in, and we're actually far closer. Wouldn't it be good to get some of that Texas flavor and have a big close game for these new members, and just little stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some some haggling going on.
Little things move a little bit closer to the western side of the SEC, or a couple of things move completely